Postgame Live.
Well, down in Houston, Texas, a night that started out a little rocky for your Wizards, but it was a second half where the Wizards decided to cut it on, put it in gear, and all of a sudden decide to put it down with Kyle Kuzma leading the way with 33 points for number 33. Final score, 108-103. Man, that was a rocky road. Ooh, Jason Smith.
Why you gotta say down in Houston, Texas?
Because we did a Texas two-step. Last night it was Dallas, tonight it's Houston. We'll be back. We'll be back in San Antonio a little bit later on. But tonight, we're celebrating.
Oh, guys, please stop.
I'm done.
Please
I'm
stop.
done. I'm done. It's been an emotional roller coaster of a night.
Yes,
that first half, we were down 15. And we sat here and we said they need to make improvements. It was a chaotic game that the Rockets played. But tonight, Kyle Kuzma, like I said, 33 for number 33. He just shifted into another gear again, Jason. I'm really impressed by what I'm seeing.
He had 4 points in the first half. He goes out there in the third quarter. You saw the entire momentum kind of switch in that third quarter. They went out there. They had a couple good buckets. You thought, all right, they might make this a game. They cut it down. They chipped away. They tied the game. But Kyle Kuzma, again, didn't matter what his shooting percentage was. He was going out there with the utmost confidence. But also a guy that came off of the bench, Kendrick Nunn. He was doing a great job of getting to the rim. He was being aggressive. He was finding his shot. But Kyle Kuzma, my goodness. Again, taking the team upon his back. He had 30 points last night in Dallas. Comes back tonight. Not a great first half, but it doesn't matter. 33 points for the man. He has gotten the job done night in, night out. You got a little concerned for the Wizards, especially on the road against a young Houston Rockets team, but they got the dub.
It was so funny. At the 7-minute mark, and he just knocks down three after three.
Back to back
after
to
three.
back.
Kendrick Nunn, welcome to D.C. I know you're in Texas physically right now, but welcome to D.C. 12 points. The energy of this team, and we were talking about this when we were watching the game. We're like, all right, it's the second night of a back-to-back. They're tired. You can see it. Legs are heavy. Shots aren't falling. That halftime, I don't know what it was. Was it a breath of fresh air, or was there something said? What do you think, Jason?
You know, I think they kind of took a deep breath. They were like, you know what? This is the Houston Rockets. We're not playing our best right now. We're taking too many jumpers. Let's make a concerted effort to get out there, play a little bit more aggressive, because you'll have a day in between the Pelicans game. This was a back-to-back. Anytime you're going against a back-to-back, it's difficult. You got no legs, you got no energy, but no matter who you're playing, you can't play down to the competition. I think in that first half, Houston had more energy, more enthusiasm. They were taking it to the Wizards. But I guess what? The Wizards showed up in that second half, especially Kyle Kuzma, Kendrick Nunn, Bradley Beal. They got the job done.
I love what I'm seeing, and we'll include Denny Avdia getting another double-double on the season. That's 7.
Yes, sir.
Denny's had 7, 2 in back-to-back nights. Shout out to young Avdia. I want to bring in Chris and Drew and get their analytical opinions on tonight's game. Guys, great call. Like you, we were all taking the ride with you. Chris and Drew, what were your thoughts on how the Wizards were able to make this one a dub, 4th in a row to be exact?
I mean, don't play with your food. They was playing with the food in the first half. You know, you had the spaghetti, and you take the fork, and you just, play around. You might not like it. You looking at it.
Yeah.
I think they were playing with their food in that first half, and in the third quarter, they won the third quarter, but that fourth quarter, plus 15 over the Rockets is where it really was the till of the tape. The end of this game, and Kyle Kuzma's performance down the stretch in that second half. This is why, I mean, if he doesn't have that type of scoring surge, what are we talking about? Is this an overtime game? Is this a loss? So that's what all-stars do. They take over games, and they have that ability to put the team on the back on the offensive end primarily and get it done, and he showed that tonight.
He's a closer. He has a mentality of someone that could care less, as he said to Megan, I don't care if I miss 10 straight shots.
I wish I had that skill.
Man.
We'll get to that offline.
Come on, Chris, be nice to him. And by
That's
the way,
your man.
we got a bone to pick with you guys. Stop talking about free throw percentages, would you? My goodness.
What he said.
Jinx.
I back
That's
that.
why I don't cover baseball anymore. I guess I was the jinx. You guys were throwing no hitters in the 7th inning. But Kuzma is absolutely phenomenal in these moments. He's comfortable in those moments. And when you have someone like that, I think the Wizards players have recognized that sometimes you might just need to get the heck out of the way and let Kuz go to work. And then this Kendrick Nunn guy. Jason and Drew, you guys have been traded. You know what it's like when you go to a new team. Do I be aggressive or do I just kind of blend in? Nah, this dude said, I want to, quote unquote, impact winning. And when I heard him say that after the game, I'm like, yeah, I think the Wizards got the right end of that. I think they got a guy that's going to help them do just that.
I think it's a lot easier for guys like me and Sticks when we get traded to blend in with a team, because all we got to do is set some hard screens, get a couple offensive rebounds, commit a couple hard fouls. But as a point guard, you got to know the playbook. You got to get guys involved. You got to know when to facilitate and when to shoot. And tonight, I mean, he started off the first half like he's already been here before, like he's been in a Wizards uniform. I love the confidence. I love the aggressiveness offensively. And in the second half, he flip-flopped. He reversed roles. He saw Kuzma on the right-hand side. He saw Brad on the left. He turned into a facilitator, and that's what good point guards do.
Guys, we saw him not only give you the 4 boards, the 4 assists, the 2 steals, and I'm like, wait, this guy's the first night?
Yeah, he's ready.
Okay, Jason. Forgive me for being spoiled. Can we get a repeat performance?
You know, I love what he did, and a person that it reminds me of, Jordan Goodwin. When he got an opportunity to go out there and play, it was new. It was different for him. But guess what? A new team, a new opportunity. You got different players out there, different coaching staff. You're trying to make an impact on the game. And just like Chris said, I love the fact that he said he wants to make an impact in winning basketball games. That is a true professional right there, and that's the right way you want to go about things.
Now, guys, I will be mildly critical, and I do want to go back to that first half. We know that fatigue is a natural element in life. But the Wizards can't afford to take a first half like that against teams, especially like the Rockets, where that gave that young team a lot of confidence, Drew.
Yeah, and I talked about that in that first quarter. You opened up a can of worms. One thing when you're playing teams that are losing at home, not that many people in the stands. And once they hear a couple of people start cheering for them, that's because the ball is going through the basket. It's giving them confidence that they could beat you. And in that first half, the Houston Rockets had confidence that they could beat the Washington Wizards, and that didn't happen. I love how the Wizards flipped the switch in that second half. You saw the true professionalism, and I love what Coach Wes did. He had Denny Avdia, Kyle Kuzma, and Daniel Gafford in the lineup against their second unit around the 10.5 mark in that fourth quarter. That window right there is where Kuzma took off, and it was all she wrote.
Yeah, it was like the Wizards were down 5, and Drew said that during the broadcast of, this is when you need to make your run, and Washington did just that. I want to give the Wizards some credit, because when you win an emotional game the way they did just last night in Dallas, human nature is it's the Houston Rockets. They're the second youngest team in the league. We know what the Rockets are doing for their long-term future. We'll just kind of just roll the ball out. But to come back and have that kind of disposition in the second half, that says something about Washington and West. I go back to what I said before we started this road trip. Talk to me after this road trip is over with. And right now the Wizards have taken care of business on back-to-back nights. They'll get a couple of nights off. A real tough test is going to come Saturday night in New Orleans. Brandon Ingram might be available. And then after that, you go to San Antonio and Detroit.
Yeah.
It's one game at a time, but I'm just saying 2-0 to start this trip is pretty impressive.
And listen, you're playing two teams that's, I believe in that Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, too.
See,
You got Detroit Pistons coming up, too, so what we talking about?
Well, with that said, Chris, if I could get you to assess these first 2 games in Texas, what would you say has been the consistent through line where the Wizards were able to take 2 down-the-stretch wins?
I think the Wizards were the best team in both of those games. Ooh. I think Kyle Kuzma was the best player on the floor. That should say something, because Luka's on that other end.
That's
right?
why I said,
Kyle Kuzma is that dude, man. I'm trying to tell you, he's a closer. He has the championship pedigree. Look, I think sometimes we kind of like gloss over the fact this guy won an NBA championship.
Yeah.
And I know some people say, well, it was in the bubble. Drew and I have talked about this before. I think winning a championship in that bubble was harder than winning a normal championship, because you're doing it with no fans. You were in a pandemic, and Kyle Kuzma was a major part of that. And I think the education that he got from playing with AD and LeBron is what we're seeing right now in a young man that is blossoming in the prime of his career. And guess what? His confidence is sky high.
So you're saying that bubble was like penitentiary hoop?
Yeah.
Penitentiary basketball in the bubble. Put more respect on that championship, huh?
Hey, Drew, I got a question, though. When you look at Kuz being able to, quote-unquote, take over a game in the fourth quarter, and you know that you got guys like Bradley Beal on the court, obviously Porzingis is out due to injury tonight. What warning signal does that send to opposing teams that no matter who you think you got in the fourth quarter, 1, 2, or 3 of these guys can cut it on at any given moment down the stretch?
I mean, that's tough to guard. And we haven't seen that many times, small sample size, where all three of them on the court and on the same side. I mean, you talk about a dribble handoff between Brad and Kuzma, and then Porzingis comes out of nowhere, sets a step-up screen. You got a lot of action that you can run with those three guys, whether it's double staggered pin downs on the weak side, bringing either one of those guys off for a jump shot and one of those guys diving to the rim. I mean, the spacing, you heard Kyle Kuzma say, hey, we do a great job of not getting in each other's way on the court, and they do that even with the small amount of time they've been able to play together.
Guys, what's interesting is hearing Drew and his contemporaries, guys that played in his era, talk about how difficult it is to guard NBA basketball today. When you think about pick and rolls and pick and pops and 5 men having to switch off on guards, it's funny to hear guys like Drew talk about it like, this is really hard. And when you've got a guy like Porzingis that is a unicorn, that is a matchup problem, and you put him next to Beal, and this kid Kuzma now, all of a sudden, his confidence is through the roof. Now you're seeing what a whole basketball team looks like. We've only seen it 3 times, though, right? Get KP back again. It's going to be hard to try to figure out how to guard this team. And if Kendrick Nunn is like this, if this is the version that we see of him,
he's like this. We've seen this.
Team's got to have a problem trying to guard this team.
He just wasn't healthy. He's been playing like this. He averaged 15-plus points in Miami over 150-something games. I think he's a proven scorer in this league. He's like this. This is no fluke tonight.
No, guys, I appreciate the breakdown. And before I let you go, Drew, no matter what arena you're in, I want you to know that I know who you are, and I acknowledge you.
They don't know him in Houston.
I know we got right there, bro.
I finally feel old. It happened tonight in Houston. It happened tonight.
Hey,
I even asked him twice. I said, "Oh, what'd you say?" He said, "What's your name?"
Gentlemen, enjoy the night, enjoy the win, safe travels, and we'll see you in New Orleans on Saturday. Wizards fans, let's go to head coach Wes Hall Jr. at the postgame podium and hear his thoughts after tonight's dub.